Do you hear that? That silence. It's what many people hear when they try to talk about their mental health. Not understanding, not support, just silence. Or worse, dismissal. And that silence says, you're overreacting, you're being dramatic, or it's not that serious. But it is that serious. And it's time we change the way we respond. Growing up, I learned early that emotions were something you kept to yourself. In many cultures, especially mine, struggling isn't seen as human. It's seen as weak. Crying, attention seeking. Therapy, a last resort or something other people do. You're expected to stay tough and push through. And that silence becomes survival. Hello, I'm Gunj Mungunzaya, and I'm here to talk about something we don't talk about enough. The invisible barrier that stops people from healing. The few times I did try speaking up, I was met with jokes and dismissive comments. I was told, you're just being sensitive, stop overreacting, or get over it. So I did what many people do. I shut down. I smiled when I was supposed to, and I stayed quiet, not because I was strong, but because I didn't feel safe being honest. But ever since, I have learned something life-changing. Asking for help is not a weakness. It's strength, it's courage, and it's human. What I went through has a name: stigma. Stigma is when people are treated differently or judged because of something they live with. There are two main types of stigma. First one is public stigma. It's when society labels or stereotypes people with mental illness. They're seen as unstable, dangerous, or untrustworthy. They're told they're too emotional, or worse, that their experiences aren't real. The second type is self-stigma. It's when we start to believe those labels ourselves and internalize that shame. Because of the stigma, we begin to think, maybe I am weak. Maybe I should be able to handle this on my own. And that's where the real damage begins, because we start to suffer in silence. In Mongolia, I've heard people casually dismiss others as mentally weak, as if a mental illness explains one's identity. Stigma doesn't always show up as outright cruelty. More often, it's subtle. It's in the way people shift uncomfortably when mental health is mentioned. It's in the way people lower their voice when they say someone's seeing a therapist. It's in the silence. And that silence is powerful because it isolates people. It convinces them that their pain is something to be hidden rather than healed. Nearly 1 in 8 people worldwide live with a mental health disorder. That's over 970 million people. These are not small numbers, and yet majority of these people never get the help they need. Why? Because of stigma. Because in many communities, mental health is still a taboo topic. According to a global student health survey, 1 in 4 adolescents in Mongolia have seriously considered suicide, while 1 in 7 have admitted to planning suicide, and 1 in 10 of our youth have attempted 1 or more times. Mongolia's suicide rate is about 18 per 100,000 people, which is much higher than the global average. This is because we've normalized silence instead of support. Mental illness doesn't just affect the mind. It affects your relationships, your job, your education, and your future. And when people are too ashamed to seek help, their struggles often get worse. They may start to isolate themselves, or lose motivation, or stop going to school. They may start to believe that the world would be better off without them. And what's heartbreaking is, it's not always the illness that breaks the people. It's the silence, the shame, and the fear of not being believed. According to research, the onset of symptoms and the treatment for mental illness is 11 years. Can you imagine breaking your arm and waiting 11 years to get it treated? So, what can we do? How do we begin to break the barrier? I say it starts with changing the conversation. We need to make space for emotion and let people speak without judgment. Because chronic suppression causes increase in cortisol, which is linked to anxiety, depression, heart diseases, and even a weakened immune system. We need to normalize therapy. Just like going to the doctors for a physical checkup, there's nothing strange about taking care of your mind. We need to teach that asking for help is a strength, not a flaw. Every time we speak openly about mental illness, we chip away at the stigma. Every time we validate someone's struggle, we make it easier for the next person to speak up. Mental illness is not a personal failure. It's a health condition, and it deserves compassion, not judgment. Let's be the generation that speaks up, the one that listens, and the one that says, "You are not alone." Let's break this stigma together. Thank you.